The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and it must be Friday, and indeed it is. It's the first day of July, July 1st, 2022. If this is the first time you're listening to our show is about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And how do they do that? They do that by listening right here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 105.3 FM, and the World Wide Web, moneyradio1510.com. So today's going to be a little different. I have a return guest and a good friend, Karen Barno. Karen is the executive director. Did I get that right?
Executive Director of Arizona Alpha.
Arizona Alpha, and Alpha stands for?
Assist Living Federation of America. We went with the longest name we could possibly find.
And I love the acronym Alpha. Alpha. So I have Karen here in the studio with me, and she has always said, hey, you know what, Bob, the audience doesn't really know who you are. So for those that have listened to the show for a long time, the very, very first guest we had on the show was Bill Strauss. And, you know, Bill, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but he reversed the roles back almost 10 years ago and interviewed me. Little did I know after 5 minutes of our show, he's talking to me. And Karen's absolutely right. You know, I feel like, you know, you, our audience, probably don't know a whole lot about me. So I'm entrusting her to go ahead and interview me, if you would. And there's no one more I could trust than Karen Barno. And Karen not only is Alpha, you know, the executive director, but she also has her own podcast and she's got her own life coaching business. So, Karen, I'm going to let you take it away from here.
This is going to be fun. And first of all, I want to thank you so much for trusting me with this. I talked to you, a year ago and said, why don't you let me interview you? And you're like, and you kept putting me off. And finally,
I did.
Here we are.
And it's not that we were lacking content, but I figured right at the halfway mark of the year, July 1st, I mean, we're halfway through 2022. Let's just kick it off and dive right in.
I like that. Okay. My first question is, first of all, as you know, I think you're one of the most fascinating men in the world.
Well, thank
and
you.
I have told you that for years, that you fascinate me. And every time we go have lunch, it's never an hour. It's usually not a 2 hour. It's usually a 3 hour lunch because you talk about so much. So the first thing I want to do is tell your audience we're going to go on a deeper level here. We're going to kind of talk about some other stuff that they're not used to. And I thought we'd first start out with personal and family questions, if that's good for you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, the first thing is you worked at Gatorade.
I did.
And you worked in a lot of male-dominated fields.
I did.
And now you're a girl dad. You have 3 beautiful daughters who are doing extremely well.
Thank you.
Can you tell how being a girl dad changed you?
Well, you know what? I grew up in a family of boys. And my mother, you know, God rest her soul, she's gone 20 years this year. And she was such a sport because, first of all, you know, 3 boys, you know, not only did we fight a lot, we ate a lot. You know, she was going, when I say ate a lot, she would go to the grocery store at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Wow.
I mean, just, you know, we were growing boys and, you know, I didn't really know a whole lot about girls. And if anything, I was scared of girls. I mean, I
just don't see that. With those baby blue eyes, I don't see that.
I was. I mean, it was just like, you know, I didn't know how to talk to girls. You know, I didn't realize that, you know, they put on their pants the same way we do and go to the bathroom the same way we do. I mean, I just didn't really understand that and just, you know, never had any role models other than my mom. So, you know, I was blessed with having 3 daughters and, you know, we've been very successful, my wife Susie and I, in raising them. And I give her a lot of credit for doing that. But, you know, one of the things that we did was we really instilled in them and empowered them to say, you know, We don't want you ever to be dependent upon a man to be able to earn a living. We want you to go out there and really put your stake in the ground and make your name for yourself on your own and in your own outright. And they all have, and they're all very different. I don't have to tell you that you're a mother of children, and it's amazing. You have children, and you can't imagine how each one of them are different. So I'm blessed with 3 daughters. Samantha Jo, she is a television reporter for Spectrum Cable out of Washington, D.C.
What a great place to be right now. I mean, she was there at the forefront of history.
Oh, the forefront. She got a chance to see a couple of inaugurations, and she got to see the craziness that just happened in the last administration and the crazy stuff that's happening now during this administration, and there is no shortage of news. And then my middle daughter, Allison Ray Roth, she is a speech pathologist at Rancho Los Amigos, which is a rehab hospital. It's a world-renowned rehab hospital in Los Angeles. And then my youngest daughter, Jessica Marley Roth, Jessie as we call her, she is a nurse over at Cedars-Sinai. And she was privileged this Monday to deliver her cousin or step-cousin, which would be my step-niece, and my unfortunately stepmother passed last year, and she never referred to any of my children or my brother's children as her step-grandchildren. She's considered them as her grandchildren. So in her eyes, her granddaughter delivered her granddaughter.
Oh my gosh, it makes me want to cry.
Oh, it was just really special. I mean, I have chills. I mean, I really believe, Maddie, God rest your soul, you said to us that you would send us a sign from the other side, and I really believe that you orchestrated that whole thing that happened on Monday, and it was a beautiful moment.
Wow.
But, being a girl dad, I want to steal a quote from Kobe Bryant, because he made it really clear that, he was a girl dad, and, we have to be thankful that you've been given a gift of life, but girls are amazing. They really are, and I am just enamored with what girls can do. And I want to give you a little story. I mean, I was a former athlete. I played high school ball, lacrosse, and football. I played collegiate lacrosse, and I got a chance to coach the Horizon High School girls lacrosse team back in 2013 and 2014. And I was privileged enough to take the team to the finals, state finals, 2 years in a row. But, I referred to my teammates or my players as my daughters as well. So I had 3 daughters at home, and I had 24 daughters that were on the lacrosse field. But, in that role, it really opened my eyes, because there are a lot of people that are living in our communities that don't have 2 parents at home and don't necessarily have fathers as role models. And, I had many of those girls come up to me and ask me for fatherly advice. And, some of these girls I still watch today. They communicate with me on social media, and I'm really, really proud of them. But, one of the things that I did teach them, and I know our listeners, and you probably know this author and public speaker, and that is Harvey Mackay. So Harvey Mackay, he lives here in the community. He also lives in Minneapolis, and he wrote many books. One that he's famous for is How to Swim with Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. But, we would do Harvey Mackay scripture, and he wrote a book called The MBA in Selling in the Real World. And I really liked this book because this book had sports metaphors in it. And there's nothing more difficult to do, because I had a problem with this, and we may talk about this later, to do public speaking and to read in front of your peers. So I made my teammates, my players, read in front of their teammates, and they fought me on it. And each one of these chapters had was a little vignette that had a sports metaphor, but it also applied to business and life. I mean, there's this one chapter that he devotes to, it's called Trust is a Must, and talking about trusting, where players are on a field versus trusting your coworkers and trusting people in your own family. And the way he says things, he says them so well. So
yeah, he does.
I got these, girls to read out loud in front of their peers. And I'm like, these are skill sets that you're going to need later in life. And they would make fun of me, but you know what? I've heard back from them. Many of them really loved the fact that I did teach them that. And by the way, whenever we did Harvey Mackay scripture, They got away from running and playing. So they're like, hey, coach, are we going to do scripture today? And I'm like, I'm not sure. We have a game to prepare for. And matter of fact, we got some music going on right now. So unfortunately, we're at a break, but we are going to be right back. Karen, do you have any more questions?
I have a whole bunch of questions, so everybody stand ready for them.
Stand ready for them. And you know what? I'm so proud to be a girl dad. I love my daughters, and I've learned so much about women through my daughters and through life and this business that we're in home care and health care.
It clearly was a calling for you.
Well,
Girl dads are picked.
You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're down one episode. We got 3 more to go. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and if you're just tuning in, we're doing a little role reversal here. I've got Karen Barno, my good friend. She's the executive director for Alpha. She also has a couple books that she's got out there. She's got a podcast, and she's doing a beautiful job of letting you, our audience, learn a little bit about me, the host of our show, Health Futures. So I'm going to punt it back to you. Football metaphor, because I know you're a Pittsburgh Steeler fan.
Of course I am.
I know
it's
you
the
are.
right team to be for.
Well, I don't know about that, but we're here to talk about me. It's all about me, right?
It is all about you, and you're a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, right?
No, I don't think so. I was a Baltimore Colts fan, and now, I bleed red. I like Cardinals. Although, I'm not a fair weather fan, but it's hard to get really excited about the Cardinals because they always seem to disappoint us, but maybe this year might be different.
Could be.
Could be.
I don't know.
All right, so I'm turning it back to you. These segments go really fast, Karen. So
they do indeed go fast because we have a couple more questions on a last segment I didn't get to, so I was a little surprised when you told me, well, it goes fast. So on this one, we've talked about your family and your amazing 3 daughters and your beautiful wife, but I want to talk now about more personal. Who's your role model? Who do you turn to, whether you know them or you don't know them, in time of need?
Right. Well, you know what? I don't necessarily have one role model, but I have several. And, I know that you're going to think it's a cop-out, but my first role model is my dad. And I've had my dad here, hosted, he's co-hosted or joined me here on the show.
Well, he's an amazing man,
He
great
is.
golfer, and you can see how you've developed into who you are when you just meet your dad.
Thank you.
You just see
Noodles.
it all.
And and you know what? Noodles has had a couple health setbacks, so we're going to give him a big shout out to, really get healthy, get well, get back on his feet, and get back here in the studio with
Exactly.
me. Because
I'll interview him.
there you go. He is the most interesting man out there, most fascinating man for sure. But I really get my work ethic from him. Dad, he was a post-depression baby. And that era, they knew how to work, and they knew that they needed to earn a living to retire, and be able to make money to be able to take care for their family. So my dad, he would be out the door by 5:30 in the morning, and not back till like 9 o'clock at night. Worked at least 6 days a week, so I barely saw him when I was young, and that was hard. But I knew he was providing for us. And then later, as I got older, high school, I was up when he got back, and the business grew and it started to be able to run a lot more by itself. So I got a chance to spend more time with him as I got older. And then certainly in college, I got to spend more time with him. And then moving out here in 1994, 95, I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him over the last 28 years. But I got to say, he's a big role model for me. And my role model as family goes is my aunt and uncle. My aunt and uncle, Aunt Viv and Uncle Herb Thaler, they were amazing people. My uncle was a full bird colonel in World War II.
Wow.
Came back from the war and was a housing developer and developed a lot of what is the suburbs in Baltimore, Pikesville and Liberty and Willow Glen area. I mean, he built a lot of communities. And the one thing that he and his wife did, which was really fascinating, was really they were family people. And, one of the things, and we'll talk a little bit about faith. I know faith is one of the topics that you want to talk about, was they would always have, Friday night Shabbat services, not services, but dinner, and really instilled in me how important family was. And I've learned a lot from my aunt and uncle, and I treasure it today. I mean, they would put on these elaborate dinners, and little did we know, I mean, they would start preparing for them on Monday, and the dinners were on Friday.
Wow.
They would set the
Yeah.
table and buy the groceries. I mean, they made it look so easy, but we learned later on in life that was like a 5-day process in putting it all together. So really, my business acumen comes from a consultant from my days when I first started with the Quaker Oats Company right out of college, and it's a gentleman that lived here in the East Valley in Mesa. His name is Sam Balin. He's originally from Chicago, and Sam was an incredible consultant and was a consultant to the company, but the company allowed him to let the employees engage him. He was on their payroll, so whenever I had challenges, I would come and visit him. And even after I left Quaker, I would call Sam every once in a while. And Sam had this gift, and I learned a lot from him. He would never give me the answers. So I would give him the problem, the challenge that I was dealing with, and he would say, okay, so what are some of the alternatives? And then I would lay out all the alternatives, and that way I would be prepared because I knew he'd always ask me. So he would say, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you think I should do? And he goes, Roth, I'm not doing that for you. You need to take me through the process and help me understand why you want to do what you want to do. And he really helped me to do that. I mean, I was looking for him to tell me, but he turned the tables around and showed me that I had that power and I could help make that decision. And then at the very end, if he didn't think I was going down the right path, he would say, are you sure you want to do this? And I'd say, why? And he goes, well, there are other alternatives. And then I go back through the process. It was like a problem-solving model. And invariably, he helped me immensely. And I use a lot of those skills today. And then the last one is in terms of, people that are role models. He died at a young age, but his name was Dick Mason. He was the golf pro at the golf club that I grew up in. And when I was 10 years old, you had to be certified by the golf pro to be able to play the golf course. So I got to play 9 holes with him. And on the second hole, it was a par 5. And I was down in front of the water, like in 4. I was about 125 yards away, 135 yards away. And I was playing this brand new golf ball. And I picked up the golf ball and I put it in my bag. I carried the bag. He was in a cart. And I put it in my bag and I pulled out this old crappy ball. And he says, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm putting this old ball down because I don't want to lose this good ball in the water because there was water in front of the green. He says, put that ball back. He goes, Bobby. He called me Bobby then because that's who I was. And he said, just think about putting the ball on the green. Don't think about the water. And sure enough, I didn't hit it in the water. I hit it over the green because I squeezed the club a little too hard. But, I've applied that principle in life because positive thinking, I think, gets us to getting those results that we're looking for. When we start thinking negatively, we start doing things negatively. So I've carried those forward. So it's my dad in terms of, the biggest business work ethic. It's my aunt and uncle as it relates to family. It is Sam Balin in terms of my, acumen, my business acumen and how I problem solve. And then it's really Dick Mason, who died very young from lung cancer. I mean, literally died like a couple years later, but he really taught me the art of positive thinking.
And you're still a very good golfer.
I try.
So it does
work does get in the way, unfortunately.
Okay, now my next question to you is, we go to a lot of meetings together.
We do.
In healthcare. Some of the meetings we're on the same side. Other meetings, not so much.
Yeah.
We kind of disagree. But I have admired how you are able to cross the aisle. Everybody loves when you walk into the room. Everybody comes to get your opinion. And it doesn't matter if you're going to agree or disagree with them. They want to hear what you have to say. Was that something that's baked in that you just have? Or is that something you had to learn how to do?
I had to learn. I mean, I think that's part of why I'm able to do this show. And that is, I've learned to be interested and not interesting. And, when I was younger, I wanted everyone to hear my point of view. I wanted to tell everybody, how it should be done. And now, and I think it comes with age and experience. And, now I'm really interested in understanding your point of view so I can understand that better So if I want you to come over to my side, I can explain why I think this solution is a little bit better, and I now have a better understanding of why you think the way you do, rather than just, rolling all over you and just saying it's my way or the highway. So I
So
think,
what do you think has been the most challenging discussion, argument, framework where you've really had to work hard? I mean, when do you look back and think, man, that one was rough?
it. I got to tell you, I learned two things from. I learned this from you, and I also learned it from Kathleen Collins Pagels. I have learned that if you want to get stuff down at the legislature, you've got to be careful what you ask for. And you told me that.
Absolutely.
You told me that. And you really have to know how to work the system, and you have to be patient. And that's something that doesn't come easy. And I have mentors like you and others that have coached me on how to go ahead and do that. So I think really the learned trait for me is listening. And, God gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth. You have to listen and seek advice. Don't jump in with both feet without really understanding the playing field that you're getting into, because you might be running into a minefield. And if you're not prepared and you don't have the solutions, or at least the foresight to navigate through that minefield, you're going to get blown up.
Well, you do it well, and I've learned a lot from you over the years watching, because when I was younger, I was a take no prisoner.
There you go.
Either you're on my side or
and
we
it
don't
was,
need to talk.
And it was the same way for me.
Yeah.
And don't need to talk, and I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's halftime here at Health Futures. We got a little Grateful Dead taking us out. We will be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We got a little Marshall Tucker band taking us into the second half. Thank you, James. If you're just tuning in, we're in our second half here, and we're doing a little role reversal. Karen Barno, the executive director for Alpha, who also is a podcaster and author, is actually interviewing me. And Karen, you and I have not had a chance to wish each other, as well as our listeners, happy 4th of July weekend. It's a long weekend. And we know that people are probably tuning in as they're driving up to the mountains or driving over to the coast. So, I really want to give a big shout out to everyone. Be careful, drive safely, enjoy the holiday. Sorry that the gas prices are so high. And, I just want everyone to really realize that we do live in the greatest country in the world. And there are often times where people get very disappointed, and we are so divisive. And I'm not here to talk about politics, but we argue and we fight. And you know what? This is the greatest nation, and July 4th is a great time for us to celebrate us.
I agree 100%. That doesn't matter how upset I get over certain things taking place in this country. At the end of the day, I don't want to live anywhere else.
I don't either.
This is the greatest country.
So, we're having a lot of fun talking about me, and we don't usually do that. I mean, I'm usually talking about the guests, and if they miss that first 2 segments, go up to our website at Cypress Home Care. Click on the media button, Third Button Down's radio show. You can catch this show and many more. So, Karen, I'm going to punt it back to you.
There we go. Okay, and while we were off radio, I did mention to Bob that, I might have to interrupt you once or twice we have a lot of questions to get moving here.
I know.
So this one, I've always been fascinated because I know you're very dedicated to your faith. So I'd like to know, how has faith truly impacted your life?
Well, thank you for asking that. It means a lot to me, both in business and life. And, learning Torah is, really special. It's kind of, God's instruction manual for living. It's the blueprint to the universe, and whose wisdom and values have changed the world. We have the privilege to plummet endlessly the depths, where we find ourselves, wrapping around our heads, this, scarce or source truth that transcends the world. It's just really, really fascinating. And, for us that do celebrate Judaism, we have Shabbat. And I have some fond memories I just shared with the listeners in our last segment about my aunt and uncle having Friday night dinners. And, You know, it doesn't really matter what faith you are. The fact that I think faith is really so important. It's important to family and bringing family together, and the values that it brings is amazing. And that's what I think many of us are missing. You know, I had on the show here probably about 6 years ago, I had a pastor and a rabbi, and they shared with us at the end of the show that 4,000 churches a year are closing. And I think that's a big eye-opener for all of us. Because
That is. I would not have guessed that.
4,000. So that means that we as a country are losing faith. And faith means so much to all of us. It instills those great values of family. And I think that's really important.
But are they losing faith, or are they just getting their faith from different sources? Meaning, instead of going to the churches and the temples, they're, watching it online.
Could be.
Or their faith comes in a different form now.
Well, I mean, you talk about online. We get bombarded by everything today, and there's no filter. And us as parents, when we have younger kids, we want to put those filters on because, like the birds and the bees, I mean, we didn't learn till later on. And if you don't have filters on, they're going to learn about them, when they're in way preschool. So I mean, it could be happening that way. I don't know, but I will tell you, getting back to Judaism, family is really important. Women. We were talking about women, and Judaism, really has revolutionary views on women, and women are
very much so.
And they're very much revered and written about in the Torah, and I am very pro woman, and certainly my faith is as well. But I will tell you, Judaism as it relates to business, I feel like that it really is an essential part of who I am and what I am. I think that honesty is really important, and that's something that I've learned from my dad, that it's much easier to remember truths than it is lies. And certainly the Torah really talks about being honest. Fair pricing, is really important in treating people fairly. I once heard a rabbi talk about, we are doing an injustice to retailers if we go into a retailer and we are looking at merchandise and we are trying that merchandise on or feeling that merchandise, and we now today may take a picture of that, and we do not exchange money for that merchandise. We leave there and then we go home to our computers, or we go out to our cars and we go find that on Amazon or somewhere else. That's an injustice. We have robbed and stolen from that merchant. So I really believe that it's important to be fair. It's important to be honest. And, I think that that's something that is ingrained in me from being Jewish. I mean, that's part of who I am.
That's interesting, because as you were saying it, I think that's going to be the new model of retail. You're going to go to a showroom, you're going to, whatever store, you're going to walk in, they're set up as a showroom to try on clothes to see what fits, and then you go on your phone and order it because they're not going to have the stock. Because they're just there for you to come look at it. Well,
they already have a couple of those. I am very fond of this one retailer called Bonobos, and they make incredible clothes. I wear their slacks. I wear their polos. So you can go in there and try them on, but they don't have inventory there. So what you do is you pay for it, and then literally 2 days later, 3 days later, it shows up at your store. But you've not cheated that merchant. You've given them the time, because time is money, right? We value our time. So that, this one rabbi was talking about the fact that we're robbing from these folks by taking their time and then going and buying it somewhere else. That's just not right on so many fronts. And, other parts about Judaism, social responsibility, or responsibility to the environment, employee-employer relations. I mean, my team will tell you that I really value them, and I want to hear them. I want to hear what they have to think. I don't consider them, do it my way, and that's the only way you should do that. And then certainly, attitudes towards, business and wealth. Judaism sees nothing wrong with businesses making a profit as long as you realize that you have other responsibilities as well. So there are a lot of people that teach Torah and do teachings. A lot of Orthodox rabbis. Sometimes I've had a chance to sit in on them, and questions come up about the Torah and how it reflects in the way we do business and do business every single day. So faith is a very big part of me, and that's who I am. I never pontificate mine, and obviously, you say I'm one of the most intriguing people, and people don't know this about me, but you'll never see me, impose my faith in the way I do business. It's all more in the background, and that's who I am.
And it's funny because when I wanted to ask you this question, the comment was made while I write an article in a Jewish newspaper, and it's like, you do, but what's faith mean to you?
Right. Well, I hope I answered your question, and it's very important to me. And, I do have fond memories reflecting back on the Shabbat dinners on Friday night with my family. I got a chance to grow up with my cousins, aunts and uncles, and my grandmother, and every week we were together, and that's so important. And no matter what faith you are, family's so important, and it's important to bring together because, once we grow up, we go our own separate ways, and we learn a lot from each other.
And we do. And I think we're going to see, because we've had to isolate, people want to connect and have community now. So hopefully faith will take a more important ride in people's lives.
And I hope people aren't getting faith from YouTube. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about congregational faith.
It is, but if it's your only source,
I know,
then get faith from anywhere that you can get it, because not everybody can get to different churches and synagogues. So wherever you can get your belief, get it.
And I will tell you, both the pastor and rabbi talked about how we need to come together as faiths and maybe have a central location where people can go and for it to be safe. And, so
Exactly.
you could have Muslims and you can have Catholics and other Christians and Jews all together. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're down 3 segments. We've got one more. Karen, stick around. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. If you're just tuning in, we're in our 4th segment here, and we're doing a little role reversal. So if you missed the first 3 segments, go up to our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the media button. 3rd button down is radio show. So for our listeners that are just tuning in, I've got Karen Barno here. She's kind of playing the host here, and she is interviewing me and asking questions because she says I'm the most intriguing guy, and a lot of our audience and many people don't know a whole lot about me, and I have revealed a lot. I don't know. I don't know if I want to listen to this, but here it is, 4th segment. Bring it.
Okay. First of all, thank you again for trusting me. This has been an honor. It's been a lot of fun. I thought we'd bring a spotlight a little bit more professionally in the last segment. Most of your listeners know about Cypress Home Care. What an amazing organization you have built, and the amazing people that work for you. And you built it out of love for caring for your mom.
Yep.
You have the best mom stories.
I do. Thank you.
And I know you just celebrated 25 plus years. I think I missed that
28.
party.
You missed the party? I'm sorry.
I missed a party, and I like a good party.
Yeah, well, we'll have to get you to the 30th.
Okay, I'll be there. Okay, so what people want to know is what's next for Bob Roth, the man, the myth, the legend, and we don't want I'm going to take my home care to the next level. I'm going to make my marriage the best ever. You've already accomplished all that. So what are you, the man? What do you want to accomplish?
Wow.
You got 2 years. You're on the clock. You got 2 years. What are you going to do?
I know. And why do I have 2 years?
Because I just gave you 2 years.
I'm not retiring after 2 years. And really, the problem solve is much bigger than 2 years. And I got to tell you, I mean, for me, I want to make care available to everybody. And I think everybody deserves that. I think we need to know, that older adults can be able to live out their lives safely. And I right now we can't, and it's a real challenge for me. I mean, it's a big problem solve. It's a huge lift because CMS, the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, do not pay for the care that we do deliver. So for our listeners, Cypress, as well as so many others out there, are providing in-home care services, and these are services to help with ADLs, ADLs being activities of daily living. And right now, Medicare or Medicaid does pay for it, but you have to be pretty much indigent to be able to get those services. So my goal really is, and it's a personal goal for me, is to figure out how we can make sure that everyone that is aging, infirmed, and needs some assistance can get that assistance, because I think there's so many people that are forgotten. So if you were to take a look at, 0 to 100, right? So the bottom third, if you would, may qualify as an older adult for Medicaid services. And really, private pay services, it's really like the top 5%, maybe 7% can afford services beyond 30 days. And then you've got everyone stuck in the middle. And right now, it's a tragedy. I mean, I go into homes where, people, are having a hard time paying for their utilities, deciding whether or not to buy food or buy drugs. We have to fix that. So that's not a 2-year solve. And I know, Karen, that's not the answer you were looking for, but it's a journey that I really plan on taking the rest of my life. And for me, I want to leave a legacy behind. I don't want to just be known as somebody that ran a successful home care company or hosted a radio show. I want to be able to, make my mark and make a difference in this world, that my children and my grandchildren can say, my father had a say in that and really played an important role in it. How that gets solved, I don't know. But you taught me a lot about the legislature here. I spend a lot of time in Washington.
So is this a state issue or a federal issue reimbursement?
Well,
if I'm sitting, I'm listening to this right now, and I'm thinking,
Right.
okay, I'm going to call my legislator down at I'm going to call Senator Pace. Can he make changes? Is more going to be a federal because of where CMS is?
So Senator Pace and our governor is the state issue is really revolving around Medicaid, because they control the purse strings for Medicaid. And, as you know, the budget was just signed in last week. And we got the heaviest lift that we've ever gotten on the home and community-based service work that we do in Medicaid.
We have a very pro-governor when it comes to home and community-based. Arizona is very, very home and community-based.
But they've been so far behind. I mean, the reimbursement for providers is scary. And I will tell you, there are a lot of people that are in that middle or even that bottom third that are not getting services because we as providers can't pay the workforce because the reimbursement rates are just so abysmally low. But I will say, on the other hand, this is more of an appeal for our federal government. This is, and we have a great advocate in Senator Sinema. I'm not sure how, entrenched Senator Kelly is, but we need to make this a real, a priority. And I've shared this with you. COVID is not really the big pandemic that we are dealing with in our country. The real big pandemic that we're dealing with in our country is aging, and we keep kicking the can down the road. And you and I know we can't build enough assisted living facilities. We cannot build enough skilled nursing facilities. We need to figure out how we can care for people in the home, and I want to be part of that problem solve.
And it's a worthy cause, and I think if anybody can get it done, it will be you. So as we
Thank
get
you.
ready to wrap up, I think we only have a few minutes left. And I'm going to let you pick, I think. What is the one thing people would be surprised to know about you? Or what is the one thing that you wish people knew about you? And I do have to tell you that he actually is reading notes off of a laptop.
Oh, I'm not. Shut the laptop. Go ahead.
No, not for this. It's just kind of, you're one of the most interesting prepared guys. So what would people either be surprised to know about you, or do you wish people knew about you?
You know what? I think, first of all, public speaking was something I was really bad at, just so you know. I mean, the fact that I'm hosting a radio show is just crazy, because I used to get up and I used to sweat and do my, Jackie Gleason imitation, hum. But, I've really overcome that. And a lot of people don't know that I really was challenged with that. But
what do you want people to know about you
now? I'm a sensitive person. I mean, I really care about people, and I may give maybe more of a rough exterior, but deep down inside, I really generally care about people, and I trust people. And even people that may have betrayed me or have done me wrong, I give people second chances, and I'm not one of those people that will stick my stake in the ground and say, oh, no, I'm never talking to you because you betrayed me or you did wrong by me. I feel like people are human. We're flawed. We do make mistakes. I make mistakes. I'll own those mistakes. But I'm deep down, I'm a sensitive person. I think my mom would tell you that. My dad would tell you that. I'm the one that was their go-to and still is with my dad. That's the side of me that many people don't see. I do cry sometimes in movies. And
well,
I do.
Who doesn't?
There are a lot of macho men that say they don't. But for me, I'm a sensitive guy. I really am. I may not portray that, but deep down inside, I really am.
Okay, so we're getting ready to wrap up. See, I'm learning the signals now.
Yep.
We're getting ready.
And my laptop is closed. I
laptop
wasn't
is
reading.
I think the point is that you're always prepared. And I admire that in you.
But I got to tell you, that's so not true. Lauren knows this. I just wing it. I mean, I really do. I tell people, you write these things down, but I only get to those if we have like a block or we're not able to, have content. And I refer to that. But for me, I want to have a conversation. It goes back to me being interested rather than being interesting. And I'm very genuinely interested in the people that are here in my studio with me.
And you have lived a life well lived.
Well, no,
You're
thank you.
You're very interesting, you're fascinating, and you've done a lot for healthcare, and we appreciate everything you've done.
Well,
so I'm going to turn it back to you. Although I told you I do want to flip the script next time. I don't know if your wife's listening. I would love to interview your wife.
Oh, all right, Susie, you're going to be on, but I do want to give you a plug. And, I can't help but do this. You have a podcast. How do people find that?
It's on iTunes, Spotify. It's Blue Rose Podcast.
And what is Blue Rose Podcast about?
Blue Rose Podcast is about spiritual confidence, helping women who have over the years lost their confidence. And when they hit about 50, they look around and say, is this it?
And they can download that off of Google,
iTunes, my website, anywhere you need to find it.
Make it a great day. Have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July. Thank you, Karen Barno, for turning the tables on me.
Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for inviting me. And y'all stay safe out there.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit cypresshomecare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 105.3 FM.